It's May 16th. I've just completed my hike around Glenmore Reservoir. It's been a great experience. As I was hiking around, I made a few videos. So please take a look at the channel, subscribe to my channel, and check out the other videos. But as I was hiking around, I also just had the memory of a similar experience many years ago. So I want to share that story with you. And it all comes to a big life lesson. So hang at the end and let me share something important with you. Now, this is actually many years ago. So I can tell you, I totally remember the experience and the feelings involved. I won't quote exactly the date and time, but back in about 2004, I recall in the job we had, there was kind of a stressful transition we're going through. It wasn't a time of any clear answers. Everybody there questioned whether in a few months we might lose our jobs or it might get renewed. We didn't know. So it was one of those slow, unknown stresses of a transition at work. However, while we all experience that in some way at times, we have to find ways to deal with it in our personal life. So for me, what I chose to do was to go to the gym. Great choice. I encourage you to try it and do it at whatever level you can, but just go do it. Important tip in life right there. However, I started going to the YMCA every morning before work. So I'd be there, recall, I think from like 6 till 7 every morning. And when I first went, clearly I was not an athlete. I was not a regular runner. I was not regularly going to gym before this point. So it was all new to me. But I would go and just try everything and do what I could at that level. Now, they had something there which is a good advantage for me, good help to me. They had a system where all the machines were connected to the computer, to the database, and recorded what you did. So I would have a measurement of all the weights I lifted or all the time I spent in the machines. And each week I would see a total score. And then next week I would just try and do a little bit better than the week before. And again, right there, life lesson. I was not competing against the athletes in the gym next to me. I was only competing against myself. But every week I would try and do a bit better than the week before. Now, at first, I didn't push myself to cause any strain, but yes, new exercise is a pain. So, little pain, got some gain, and it was great. I did feel better. I became stronger in that time, and naturally proved myself each week doing a bit better than the week before. I was much more confident in myself. Tip number 3, right there. Just do it, prove it to yourself. You will be more confident in yourself. While I was going through that process, becoming more confident, I decided to set a big goal for myself. Something, not just a weekly goal or monthly goal. I wanted to go big. So, while I had started the gym in January, I looked ahead and saw that in the summertime, in July, if I recall right, was the big city marathon. So the full 42-kilometer marathon. So I did some research about tips to prepare for a marathon, and then I started preparing for it. And I did the best I could. The distance from my work to where I lived, my home, was about 22 kilometers. So many times before the big event, I did a jog from work to home in that 22-kilometer time. That's only a half a marathon, but that was my preparation pace. And I felt I was on pace to compete in the marathon and complete in about 4 hours, 30 minutes, which would not be a finalist, would not be in the top leaderboard, but would be great for me, a good pace for me to run. Now, I recall the experience, I recall the feeling and the emotion of the day. And when it came to preparing for the marathon, I was confident, I was ready to compete and be on my pace. I recall running the marathon, and in the first hour, I'm running with a pace group. and a pace guide who's telling us we're going to finish about 4:30, and I'm right with them, talking with them as we go. I remember the next hour, I'm right with the pace guide. I'm feeling great. I'm talking to the pace guide. Now, I do recall in the next hour of the run, I lost the pace guide. He was ahead of me. I couldn't catch him again. Kind of about 3 hours into the race, I hit what would have been, some say, hitting the wall. I just felt my body exhausted. As they say, I hit the wall, which at that point, I can tell you, as a life lesson in the marathon, becomes totally a mental exercise. I just focused on where I was going. I focused on the pace I was setting, just focused on a rhythm of just continuing to move forward and continued in the race. Now, again, I couldn't see the pace runner. I had no idea how far ahead he was at this point. And I'm picturing getting near the end. There was a new hope in my mind. And I totally recall as I'm coming around a final curve in the track, and I'm seeing measurements that are saying the last 5 kilometers, 4 kilometers. I'm totally visioning in my head, thinking my wife and my kids will be at the finish line. They're going to be there to see me, and I'm going to come in looking good. So I totally remember in that last 2 kilometers, last 1 kilometer, I had a rhythm going. I was just swinging big steps and just trying to glide in as smooth as I could. That last kilometer coming to the finish line, I was looking my best through the whole race. When I got to the finish line, I saw strangers there. I saw other race officials. I saw other runners. I did not see my wife, my kids waiting for me at the finish line. However, they were there a bit later. They just didn't have the same expectation I had for what time I would finish. A lot of life lessons there. But I felt a bit of the same way today walking around the reservoir. And right now, as you see in the video, it has been a great day the past 4 hours. And right now I'm sitting in the rain, which is another flashback to my memory in the marathon. I do recall, well, running the Calgary Marathon, there was an hour or so that was bright skies, and there was one time where it was actually dark clouds and hail hitting the road and me. But through all that, yes, focus on the goal, focus on the finish line, focus on the dream of what will be there at the finish line, and continue to set a pace that's fair and keep in a rhythm that keeps you moving smoothly, and just continue till you hit the finish line. Now, I mentioned life lesson of what I would share at the end of my story. There's many times I've started other walks beside the reservoir here where I've only gone half an hour, or maybe an hour, and then stopped and turned around and went back. But today I did the full circle, which means once I got halfway, there was no shortcuts. I had to continue all the way around. And there's a life lesson right there. I hope that as you set your goals, as you focus on the finish line, you do not take shortcuts, but continue through to the finish until you know you've reached your goal. I love you guys. Hope the best for you. Please like the video, subscribe, and come back for more.